So imagine, right, you spend a solid decade building this absolutely impenetrable digital fortress.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
You lay this flawless foundation with your server architecture, you frame the walls perfectly with your HTML, and you're just obsessively fortifying the gates by tweaking your site speed.
Right, doing all the classic technical SEO stuff.
Exactly. Own this fortress. But then the king of the realm, which, in our world is Google, they hand you this flimsy canvas tent and tell you to go set up shop in a crowded public square instead.
Wow. Yeah, that's quite the image.
They're like, hey, we'll even track the foot traffic to your tent for you. But looking at that offer, suddenly your carefully built fortress feels, I don't know, a lot less relevant.
It really does. I mean, it is the ultimate digital real estate dilemma. We are looking at a fundamental shift in what it means to actually have a presence on the web.
And that is exactly what we are unpacking today. Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today is Tuesday, July 21st, 2026, and we are looking at this massive new Google Search Console update.
Yeah, the introduction of platform properties, it's a huge deal.
It really is. And we have a huge stack of sources to pull from today to help you understand this. We've got official announcements from the Google Search Central blog, specifically from Moshe Samit and Hillel Maus.
Right, the guy's actually building it.
Exactly. Plus, we've got some great write-ups from Matt Southern over at Search Engine Journal and Barry Schwartz at Search Engine Roundtable. And we're also digging into some incredibly fiery debates from practitioner forums.
Oh, the forums are wild right now.
They really are. Webmasters are, quite frankly, panicking in the trenches.
Yeah, the contrast between the polished corporate rollout and the raw, real-world reaction is just striking.
Totally. So our mission today is to unpack how this update bridges the gap between traditional web SEO and social search. We need to decode that tension between Google's official stance and the real-world panic.
And ultimately figure out how you can navigate this whole omni-channel shift without losing your mind or your traffic.
Right. So to understand why that tension exists, we kind of have to look at the mechanics first. What is Google actually asking webmasters to do here?
Well, let's start with the basic definition. GSC, or Google Search Console, now allows you to track your content's performance on Instagram, TikTok, X, and YouTube directly in search.
Directly in the back-end interface. Which, I mean, as an enterprise SEO developer, my immediate thought is just risk containment.
Oh, absolutely.
Because we spend our professional lives mitigating risk.
Yeah.
We obsess over core web vitals, making sure the page loads fast, making sure the layout doesn't shift around.
Because you control that environment.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We do that because we own the site. But this update, it asks us to rely on third-party platforms for search visibility.
Yeah, and it's a huge evolution from that experiment they ran back in December 2025.
Right, the one that initially integrated social channels into insights.
Yes, but it's really important to distinguish these new platform properties from those public-facing search profiles they launched in June for big influencers.
Oh yeah, this is totally different.
Yeah, this rollout is entirely under the hood, purely for the back-end data nerds. Users get 3 main reports.
Walk us through those.
So there's a performance report showing clicks and impressions, then an insights report for broader traffic trends and top posts, and finally an achievements tracker for milestones.
Okay, but the detail that completely stopped me in my tracks when I was reading the documentation, it's what's actually inside that performance report.
The query data.
Yes. Google isn't just telling you, oh, hey, your TikTok got views. They are giving you the exact search query terms that users typed into Google to discover your specific social media posts.
It's pretty unprecedented.
And the craziest part, to get this data, you don't even need to own a website, which, leads to a massive technical shift in how you prove to Google that you own an asset.
Right. It completely upends 20 years of webmaster tradition.
So let's break that down for someone who might be rusty on how search consoles actually work. Traditionally, to get data from Google about your website, you have to prove you own the domain.
Usually through DNS verification.
Exactly. Traditional DNS verification is like holding the deed to a house.
Yeah.
You drop a permanent marker into the fundamental registry of your website. It proves you own the land.
But you can't drop a DNS record into TikTok servers.
Because you don't own TikTok.
Right. You have zero access to their backend.
So Google is using OAuth verification instead. Explain how that changes the dynamic here.
Well, OAuth is essentially a digital handshake. It stands for open authorization. So instead of proving you own the underlying server, you're just logging into your social media account and granting Google temporary permission to access the data.
Temporary being the operative word there.
Yeah, you're moving from the authoritative ownership of a permanent domain, right, to authorize access via a third-party token. Barry Schwartz actually noted that for some users, like with X, it auto-verified if they already had a search profile.
Which is convenient, but I have to push back on how safe this actually is. Because, again, thinking about enterprise stability, that terrifies me.
Impermanence of it?
Yeah. An OAuth token feels like a temporary lease. What happens when an enterprise social media manager leaves the company or, just simply changes the password on the brand's Instagram account?
Well, the API connection breaks.
The token expires, and suddenly, boom, you are looking at a massive gaping hole in your quarterly data tracking. You lose the token, you lose the tracking. It feels incredibly fragile.
Look, I get it. What's fascinating here is that your technical vulnerability is real. If the handshake breaks, the data just stops flowing.
And for an enterprise CMS owner, that's a nightmare.
It is. But you have to critically weigh that mechanical risk against the strategic goldmine of the data you are receiving. I mean, query-level data for social assets. That forces a total evolution in content strategy.
How so? Like, practically speaking.
Historically, your social media analytics could tell you, that a video was recommended by the native algorithm, or it got 1,000 views.
Right, mostly just vanity metrics.
Exactly. But it could rarely tell you the exact vocabulary a user typed into a search engine to find it. Now it can.
Okay, I see the value there. If I know that someone searched for a highly complex technical term, and Google decided to serve them my 60-second TikTok, instead of my meticulously crafted 3,000-word blog post.
That is a massive signal about user intent.
Right. It tells me directly that for this specific query, the user wants a fast, visual answer, not a textbook.
Exactly. You are no longer guessing what format the user prefers. The search engine is handing you that intelligence on a silver platter.
Which I think brings us to the core conflict in our sources today. Because that technical vulnerability with OAuth, it perfectly mirrors a much deeper philosophical paranoia brewing in the SEO community.
Oh, for sure. The trust issues are real.
Very real. Webmasters are anxious about renting their technical connection, sure, but they are absolutely terrified of renting their organic search traffic to social media giants.
Yeah, the cannibalization debate.
Exactly. But let's look at the official narrative first. What is Google saying about this?
So Google's official documentation frames this integration as a helpful, necessary evolution. They're basically arguing that internet users are increasingly gravitating toward first-hand perspectives.
And varied content formats, right? Like short-form video.
Exactly. The official stance is that Google simply wants to help creators and publishers get a consolidated view of how their content is discovered across the entire web, regardless of where it lives.
Which sounds highly collaborative on paper. Very kumbaya.
Very much so.
But when you dive into the practitioner forums, the places where veteran SEOs actually talk to each other without the corporate spin, it is a bloodbath.
Yeah, the primary fear is SRE cannibalization.
For those who might not be familiar with the jargon, SRP meaning the search engine results page.
Yeah.
And cannibalization is basically when your own content competes against itself.
Right. You have two assets trying to rank for the same keyword, and they end up dragging each other down.
Exactly. And there was this one veteran SEO, a user named Uncle Krusty on the Search Engine Roundtable forum, who laid out a brilliant economic argument.
Oh, I read that comment. It was spot on.
It really was. They pointed out that Google is basically using this new dashboard to show publishers exactly how much of their hard-earned traffic is being siphoned away to social platforms.
What they were calling the zero-click age.
Yes. Because here is the harsh reality. If someone searches for, say, enterprise software, and they click on a link to your owned website, you control the conversion path.
Right. You can capture their email, offer a white paper,
or funnel them directly to a sales rep. But if that same search query triggers your TikTok video, and they click that instead.
You've just sent a potential buyer into the most distracting environment on earth.
Literally. A platform designed to keep them scrolling indefinitely, watching dance trends, not to buy your software. The click to your website is revenue.
And the click to your TikTok is a vanity metric. It enriches TikTok's engagement numbers, not the publisher's bottom line.
Exactly. So I have to ask on behalf of everyone listening, what does this all mean for risk containment? Is tracking social media in GSC a genuine game changer for omni-channel SEO, or is it just a superficial distraction?
A distraction from core web vitals and making sure our actual websites rank.
Yeah. Why would any enterprise brand want to actively encourage or track Google sending their high-converting search traffic to a platform that doesn't convert?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, the economic anxiety is completely valid. It really is.
Yeah.
But the paranoia detailed in these forum sources, it actually goes even further than just losing a direct sale.
Oh, it goes into full conspiracy territory. And honestly, I kind of don't blame him.
Yeah, let's talk about Rowan's comment.
Oh, Rowan. Yeah, this user pointed out that by connecting all these platforms via OAuth to a single Google Search Console dashboard, you are voluntarily handing Google a complete, unredacted blueprint of your multi-channel marketing strategy.
Right. Merging these accounts gives Google a direct view into your tactics.
And the fear is that Google will use this cross-platform data to train their AI, figure out exactly what your brand is trying to rank for across every single medium, and then somehow use that intelligence in their ads algorithm.
To force you into a bidding war against your competitors.
Yes. For the very keywords you are already dominating organically. Rowan explicitly advised other webmasters to never merge their accounts.
Okay, so let's analyze that paranoia impartially, right? Enterprise CMS owners have spent the last 2 decades optimizing indexability, cleaning up code, building authority, all to capture traffic on their own terms.
And now they feel the ground shifting under them.
Exactly. They feel they are being pressured to funnel their audience into walled gardens they don't control. But we have to be brutally objective about what ignoring this update actually accomplishes.
Okay, so let's say I'm sitting in my next marketing meeting. If I refuse to connect these platforms out of fear of cannibalization or data harvesting, does that protect my website's traffic?
In short, no. Refusing to track the data does not stop the search engine from changing its behavior. Google is elevating these social formats because billions of user interactions indicate a preference for them in specific contexts. If a transactional search query triggers a TikTok video instead of your product page, yes, your conversion rate will likely drop.
Which hurts.
It does hurt. But sticking your head in the sand and refusing to look at the Search Console data won't put your product page back at the top of the results. It just blinds you to your own audience's shifting behavior.
So you're saying the SRPs are going to change regardless of whether we connect the OAuth tokens or not?
Precisely. You have to weigh the value of top-of-funnel visibility on a rented platform against bottom-of-funnel direct conversions on your own site.
That's a tough pill to swallow for a lot of traditional SEOs.
It is, but if Google is offering you the exact map of how they view your brand across the entire internet, I mean, ignoring that map is just strategic malpractice.
Okay, I see your point. You can't put the genie back in the bottle. The data is here. The update is live. So let's pivot from discussing the problem to exploring the practical playbook.
Let's do it.
Because if the peeps are changing, regardless of our complaints, how do the smartest practitioners actually use this query-level social data to protect their overall traffic?
Well, the most advanced webmasters are making a fundamental mental shift right now. They are transitioning from viewing this as data isolation to focusing on entity building.
Entity building. That feels like the core insight of this entire stack of sources today. Explain the mechanism behind an entity in this context.
Sure. To understand an entity, you have to understand how Google's knowledge graph works. 10 years ago, search engines ranked pages based on strings.
Meaning literal strings of text or keywords.
Right. If you typed running shoes, it looked for a page that said running shoes 50 times. But today, search engines rank things. They map concepts.
So an entity is what exactly?
An entity is the overarching holistic concept of your brand in the search engine's brain. It understands that your brand is not just a URL. Your brand is a collection of ideas, products, locations, social profiles, and public sentiment.
Oh, wow. So when Google offers to integrate Instagram and YouTube data into Search Console, they aren't just giving you a social media report.
No, not at all.
They are asking you to help them verify the boundaries of your brand's entity.
That is the crucial takeaway. By giving you query-level data for your social posts, Google is handing you the exact vocabulary your audience uses to interact with your entity out in the wild.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. Because the strategic move is to take that vocabulary, those exact search queries revealed in the new GSC reports, and feed them back into your own ecosystem.
Exactly. Apply the data.
Let's make this tangible for the listener, right? Say you manage marketing for a complex B2B logistics company. You overcome your initial skepticism. You verify your brand's Instagram account using the OAuth connection.
You take the plunge.
Right. A week later, you open the performance report, and you notice something surprising. A highly specific technical query, let's call it cold chain supply cracking failures, is driving massive impressions on Google.
And it's driving them to what?
To a quick 30-second Instagram reel you posted 6 months ago.
A reel that, as we discussed earlier, is probably not converting those impressions into enterprise software sales.
Exactly. It's just sitting there on Instagram getting views. But now you have the intelligence. You know Google trusts your brand as an authority for that specific phrase, and you know users are actively searching for it.
So what do?
You don't just leave that traffic stranded on Instagram. You take that exact query and you weave it into a high-converting B2B landing page on your main site. You write the definitive long-form guide on cold chain supply tracking failures.
I love that. And then you embed that successful Instagram reel directly into the new landing page.
Boom.
You're using the rented tent in the public square to capture the initial attention, but you are deliberately building a path that pulls the user back into your fortress.
Right. But wait, how does Google know that the new landing page and the old Instagram reel are connected? Like, how do we prove they are part of the same entity so we don't end up cannibalizing our own rankings?
This is where you fortify that connection using technical SEO. You deploy something called schema markup.
The hidden code.
Exactly. And specifically, you use a type of code called the same as markup.
Explain how that acts as a bridge for the search engine.
Think of schema markup as a digital ID card that you embed invisibly in your website's code. It speaks directly to the search engine crawlers in a language they perfectly understand.
No guessing required.
Right. You use the same A's code on your new landing page to explicitly state, hey, this authoritative, high-converting website article and that highly visible Instagram reel over on Meta's servers, they belong to the exact same entity.
You are literally hard-coding the map for Google's knowledge graph.
Yes,
Yeah.
you are mapping your disparate social assets to your centralized brand entity. And this level of entity confidence is exactly what you need to start claiming extra real estate on personalized feeds.
Like Google Discover.
Exactly. Or within AI overviews, which rely heavily on trusting that a brand is legitimate across multiple channels.
That makes total sense. It turns a vulnerability into a weapon. But looking at the fine print of these sources, there is a glaring omission in this rollout that creates a massive blind spot.
Oh, the missing platform.
Yeah, particularly for B2B brands trying to build these entities. The Google documentation explicitly lists Instagram, TikTok, X, and YouTube. What is missing from that list?
The entire professional networking layer.
Yes.
Most notably, LinkedIn. And Facebook and Threads are missing too.
Practitioners in the forums are already sounding the alarm on this. Multiple veteran marketers like users-inspired Taste and Merlinox. They immediately praised the feature, but followed up by asking, where's LinkedIn? Where's Facebook?
It's a very valid complaint.
Because this raises an important question for enterprise brands. For a B2B company, a TikTok video might be a fun little experiment, but LinkedIn is the absolute crown jewel of their content strategy. It is where their actual buyers live.
Yeah, the absence of LinkedIn really highlights a fundamental reality about the modern internet. The data wars between major platforms.
Right, they don't want to share.
No, these integrations don't happen by magic. They require complex API agreements and massive data sharing deals. When platforms act as walled gardens, refusing to share data, the webmaster suffers. It creates a fractured view of your brand entity.
So if I'm a B2B marketer, and my most important channel isn't even supported by this new tool, should I just ignore the platform properties update entirely? Like, what's the point?
That would be a mistake.
Yeah.
Knowledge is only valuable when applied, right? Even if it's incomplete. You cannot let the absence of LinkedIn paralyze your strategy for the platforms that are providing data.
So you work with what you have.
Exactly. If Google is giving you the blueprint for how users search for your YouTube tutorials or your brand's updates on X, you have to use that intelligence. You use platform properties to map a holistic cross-channel strategy with the pieces currently on the board.
While continuing to measure LinkedIn natively, I assume.
Exactly. Don't use this just for vanity metrics. Use it to build out that entity.
All right. To distill this entire deep dive for you listening, Google's July 2026 Platform Properties Update is so much more than just a new dashboard. It is a fundamental bridge between traditional website SEO and the fragmented world of social search.
It really is a paradigm shift.
Yeah. And yes, it forces webmasters to accept the technical risks of OAuth leasing instead of the permanence of domain ownership. And it is absolutely fueling valid practitioner fears about traffic cannibalization and the reality of zero-click search results.
But simultaneously, it offers unprecedented query-level transparency. You get to see exactly how your brand is discovered organically in all these varied formats.
It provides the exact raw materials needed for sophisticated entity mapping and cross-channel content optimization.
Right. So whether you are prepping to defend your budget in a contentious marketing meeting next week, or you just love understanding how information flows online, you now have the insider perspective.
You understand why shifting from strings to things, from isolated pages to holistic entities, is the only way to survive when search engines start favoring the public square over your private fortress.
It really requires adapting your definition of ownership and control. The ecosystem increasingly favors the user's immediate need for varied content over the publisher's desire for a direct click.
Which leaves us with one final kind of thought-provoking angle to mull over. We've talked endlessly today about how webmasters and brands will use this search data to optimize their websites.
Right.
But what about the social media creators themselves?
Oh, that's an interesting thought.
Right. If Google Search Console is now handing a TikTok creator the exact search queries that drive massive organic traffic to their videos from Google, how long until creators stop designing content for TikTok's native algorithm?
Oh, wow. The tail wagging the dog.
Exactly. If the traffic and discovery from Google Search becomes more valuable than a fleeting viral moment on a native social feed, creators might start scripting, pacing, and titling their reels strictly to satisfy Google's search crawlers.
That would completely change social media.
Right. Could a back-end analytics tool designed for technical webmasters indirectly end up dictating the creative future of all short-form video?
It's very possible.
Because if you're too busy worrying about the temporary lease on your canvas tent, you might not notice that the rules of the entire kingdom have changed.
Definitely something to think about the next time you post a video, just hoping the algorithm picks it up.
Absolutely. Well, until next time, keep diving deep.